Hello and welcome to the highlights of nanotechweb 2017. Lots of exciting developments this year, things with the very small, particularly for me with the arrival of my little bundle of joy in April, during which time we had Marek Stevens heading the website. You can see him there doing the 100 billion nanometer dash on Nanotechnology Day. Marek was heading up the website, taking care of things and writing articles alongside Belle Dumay, who's our freelance contributor from Paris. So on to what we were reporting. Here's the best of. This year we've spread our footprint of coverage of nanoscale science and technology with the recruitment of a cohort of PhD student contributors from across the world, bringing you updates for the community by the community. They contributed 44 tech updates over the course of the year, covering the topics they find most interesting, from the physics of 2D materials to energy storage. In fact, 2D materials has been a fruitful avenue of research for energy applications in 2017 generally, with the incorporation of graphene in highly reversible aluminium-ion batteries, and a graphene composite triboelectric nanogenerator that is so efficient it can wirelessly transmit power and signals to control domestic appliances. There have been many developments using 2D materials for other applications too. Among them, graphene oxide proved an effective filter for organic solutions. In addition, by adding a metal oxide to graphene, researchers at the Enlightened conference in October showed that it can function as a barrier layer or a tunable capacitor. While at the Enlightened conference, we also spoke to Andrea Ferrari, director of the Cambridge Graphene Centre, about the current state of play in graphene research.
If you look at any major technology based on hardware, as opposite of software, it always takes between 20 to 40 years to go from the initial discovery to the mass application. If you think about a transistor, first transistor was in 1947. It took over 10 years to realize that people had to use silicon instead of germanium. If we fast forward and we take the 14 nanometer technology or any new node technology on the TRS, on the ITRS, it requires several years to develop this and massive investments of like $10 billion for just one node at least. So if you take a carbon fiber, the first carbon fiber in a car was in 1984. And the first fully carbon fiber car is only 2013. I'm speaking about mass production for the public, not Formula One or things like that. So it's completely normal to expect a 20 to 40 years time frame. And what is not normal is that the media have built up an expectation on graphene that is clearly not possible.
More on how improvements in material processing are helping towards commercializing the wonder material, available in the Indepth article, Commercializing the Wonder Material. Studies of proteins have revealed huge fluctuating protein conductances that can't be explained by electrochemistry, transient charging, or heating effects. Stuart Lindsay told nanotechweb how the protein's electronic properties seem to teeter at a critical point between conducting and insulating states, adding that the large conductances were only observed above a threshold voltage of around 50 to 100 millivolts, a range of values that coincide with the cell membrane potential arising from ion differences inside and outside cells, something that may have some evolutionary significance. Significant breakthroughs in medicine include brain-penetrating nanoparticles that successfully restore dopaminergic neuron function in rats suffering from Parkinson's disease. There's also been a great deal of progress in ways to use nanotechnology to combat antibiotic resistance, including the use of gold nanoparticles to resurrect antibiotics that bacteria have become resistant to, enhancing their potency by a factor of 16. The use of gold nanoparticles to enhance antibiotics is one example of the research we've been following this year in Nano Futures, a new journal launched by IP Publishing, which published its first papers in April. The journal is dedicated to bringing together the latest and most important results and perspectives from across nanoscience and related technologies.
Nano Futures is supposed to present groundbreaking research in the broad area of nanotechnology. The journal Nanotechnology has been a quarter-century-long journal covering the broad areas of nanotechnologies. However, the opportunity for nanofutures is to be able to define new, exciting, groundbreaking areas of nanotechnology that will shape the future.
How Zhang and colleagues at Simon Fraser University tackled the trade-off between degradation-prone paper and pigments and long lifetime forms of information storage such as Blu-ray discs, which face a different problem as technological changes render them obsolete. They developed a flexible, low-cost technique to print structural colour in a long-lived epoxy. In catalysis, solar cells were used to convert CO2 to carbon monoxide, a precursor to fuels and various high-value chemicals. There have been a lot of developments in solar cell research, as always. In September, Marek spoke to Ravi Silva about the current prospects in this field. Of course, a lot of effort in electronics is going into improving efficiencies in order to save energy expenditure in the first place. To this end, skyrmions, a type of magnetic quasi-particle, could provide particularly energy-efficient synaptic devices. As for electronics and photonics that has made it to market, we spoke to electronics giant Samsung in an interview with Sang-Yoon Lee, the Senior Vice President and General Manager at the Samsung Organic Materials Lab. He told nanotechweb about the company's investment in organic LEDs.
Normally, at first, I'm very interested in the nanomaterials. So once I joined here in 2002, my first project was quantum dots. After that, I thought that in the future, plastic engineering, plastic electronics might be the future. And I was, actually I'm from the semiconductor industries, not very familiar with organics at the time, but in 2002, Professor Heger, I got PhD, Nobel Prize for this conducting polymers. That's the time that I got interested in the organic materials. And the reason I choose OLED material is it's because it's going to have a big impact.
At the more fundamental end of photonics research, researchers in Italy and Canada observed superfluid-like behaviour in a condensate of polaritons at room temperature for the first time. And researchers have attributed the long-observed visible and infrared light emission from graphene to the 2D quantum Cherenkov effect. And finally, following the award of the Nobel Prize in 2016, there have been a number of developments in molecular motors. nanotechweb followed developments at CEMES in France to prepare for the first ever single molecule car race, which took place in April with teams from across the world. Move over Formula One. So that was the best of 2017. Keep an eye out in 2018 when you'll have the revamped, rebranded, brand new website bringing you all the news, in-depth analysis and multimedia and nanotechnology you've enjoyed so much, alongside the whole of material science. That's in 2018. But for now, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.